Hi there, welcome back to my channel and to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about eyeshadow palettes within my collection where there's a brand represented by only one palette. So they're kind of like one-offs. You know, I only have one palette from each of these brands, and I'm going to show you those palettes and just give you a general thought about the palettes or about my experiences with the brand, because sometimes I try a brand and it's just not a favorite. I like the palette, but I'm not interested in going back and getting more from them. Sometimes it might simply be price, like somebody gave me the palette, or I got it for a really great steal, but I know I probably won't be able to get anything else from them, or it's a duping brand and perhaps I have the originals and I don't need dupes, but I have this one, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's today's video and I hope that you will enjoy it. If you're curious about today's eyeshadow look, which is super pretty, right? I love it. I did film it. I will link it in the description box for you, and I will card it above here if I remember. I'm not going to tarry too long on each of these palettes because it's rather a significant stack and I have other things to do today. But let's start off with the palette that I'm using on my eyes today, just because it's fresh in my mind. I used the Coastal palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. This was given to me by a subscriber and I was really excited. She didn't tell me she was sending me this one, and it's been a real delight because the color story is beautiful, the theme is beautiful. Simply Posh, I think, has nice color stories. I don't always love their palettes only in that I feel like they don't offer enough contrast. So specifically, I wish that there were more difference in depth between the top rows of their palettes, which are mattes, and the bottom rows, which are mattes. The centers are always shimmers, and I like the format. I just wish that we had more depth. And even if it weren't, you know, all 6, but if it were just 2, like if this palette had one dark brown, I think that would be enough for everything. Because as for today, I really wanted more contrast and depth in my outer corner, but I couldn't get it because the darkest shades are this one. So I actually picked up this one, but I really didn't want a blue look. And so I tried to dirty it and muddy it as much as I could with the brown mattes and these gray sort of things out in the outer corner to get the depth without the blue. So on the whole, I think the palette's gorgeous. I wish it had a little more depth, and as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty consistent across Simply Posh's palettes. Their Aurora Lights palette is gorgeous, and that one does have the depth, but then it doesn't really go quite as light as I would want. So personal preference, but that is the only palette I have from Simply Posh. Besides that, I do have shimmers. I bought some shimmer singles from their Black Friday sale. They were $1 a piece. I actually bought all of the shimmers that are in the Coastal palette, and then when this subscriber gave me the Coastal palette, I gave my daughter those singles. She likes one and done shades, so it's pretty perfect. The next palette or brand that's represented is Kidos. I used to have 2, but now I just have 1 palette from them. This is the Sashimi City. Is it from their Futurism collection from some years ago? I've heard that collection just across the board was so great. This palette is actually kind of boring. It's very what you see is what you get. Like, we don't have shifting shades, we don't have crazy colors or anything. It's extremely neutral and it's safe and uninteresting, but it's beautiful quality. It's exactly what you want it to be. I mean, if this is the kind of color scheme you're going for, you can grab this palette and know that you will have success. The formula is beautiful. I love this shimmer right here. It's not really shifting, but it's just so lightweight and sparkly. It's lovely. This palette does have the depth, it does have lightness, and it does have midtones. And even within just these 6 pans, we've got a little bit of nuance in undertone. On the whole, I would say it's mainly more warm leaning than cool, but it's still a really nice arrangement given what it is, how small it is. It's got great packaging. I like it. Let's talk about a drugstore palette. Most of what I have is indie, but this was recommended by, I saw Jen Phelps talking about it, and then a few other people. This is from Revolution Beauty. It is the Enchanted Icon. I think there are 4 to 6 colorways with the Icon series. And remember, this is the brand that bought BH Cosmetics, and I was impressed with the formula. I thought it was really good. The mattes were super easy to work with, and not all of the shimmers, but this one reminded me of BH shimmers. But the others were very pretty. Actually, this one and this one had sort of a final finish that reminded me of Lethal, which was a surprise. These 2 are creams. I don't care at all about them. I tried to use this one as a little soft winged eyeliner, but it's not really my style. Anyway, it's again kind of a safe color story, but it's pretty. It's a little bit rosy leaning. We've got these more purple tones. You have 2 neutral shades and 1 more goldy pinky kind of shade. You do have some depth. I would prefer if it were a little darker. Oh, a neutral shimmer here as well. A little darker would not be an objection to me, and maybe one of these being a little bit lighter. But on the whole, it's a very safe, a very easy color story. You can't really go wrong with it, and it's good quality. By the way, all of these palettes are going to be linked below. Let's talk about Fantasy Cosmetica. Now, this was also given to me recently by a subscriber. I've never tried Fantasy Cosmetica. I've been holding on to it, waiting to get in the mood to play with this color story. This is the Bard palette, and I think I'm actually going to pass this one along untouched, because the more I look at it, I mean, I think it's beautiful. I really do. It's lovely. But the more I look at it, I have a few thoughts. Number one, none of these shades are new to my collection. I pretty much have all of these in a few places. Number two, it's not a color story which really excites me, and I have enough palettes at this point. I'm again starting to get to the point of I need to do a declutter, because at some point it starts to feel a little like there's too much. You know, you're a little bit suffocated and there are so many options you don't know where to begin. I would rather have my collection be palettes that I know I love, formulas I know I love, color stories I really jive with, because then it's always going to be exciting for me to dive into playing with eyeshadow on a day. And I'm less inclined to keep palettes where I know it's pretty and I know it's good quality, but it doesn't really excite me. And I think that this color story doesn't really excite me. I'm a little stymied about what to do with this shimmer. I'm not uncreative when it comes to color. I think I do a decent job on the whole, particularly with eyeshadow, at taking colors which don't really work together and merging them in the middle to come up with something that seems to be nice. Generally, not always, but generally. And I'm not quite sure what to do with this one. But if there were a dark blue matte in the palette, then I'd be able to give that that connection point, if you know what I mean. So I think I'd rather pass the palette on, because I've heard that Fantasy Cosmetica is a really great formula, and I would like to give it away or sell it brand new and untouched so that someone else can get the full benefit of it. Editing Rachel here. You know, when I was looking back at my video and actually starting to edit, I was looking at my coloring, and I think that as I get older, especially, you know, the more silver my hair becomes, and by the way, this is the side that's less silver. If I part it here, you see a whole lot more. I think that I need to be moving away from the really intensely warm colors like this Fantasy Cosmetica palette. Even though I love them, I love the oranges and the reds, they just seem to be a little bit more jarring, I think, with my total coloring. And I mean, I just want to be aware of that as I get older. It's not that I'm putting on makeup to be prettier or to be more attractive. I put it on as creative expression, but I think that that can still be done in a way that seems to work with everything else that's happening. And that's the other reason I'm planning on decluttering this lovely Fantasy Cosmetica palette. Even though I wanted to try the formula, I think it might just be too intense and too hotly pigmented with the warm colors in a way that won't necessarily work with, you know, what's actually happening with my body. Let's talk about a $10 Walmart palette. This is the Lamora Nude palette, duping out Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. And this, just like the Kidos and just like that Revolution palette, what you see is what you get. There's nothing too shifty, nothing too crazy. But if you want these colors, if this is what you're feeling, this is exactly what you need. There are a couple of really pretty shimmers in here. The others are fine. They're fine. They're not super special, but these two are a little bit extra, and they're a little extra sparkly, a little extra lightweight, a little extra metallic. Not indie extra. Realistically, they're not indie quality, but they're still good. And I think that if this is the kind of color story I'm going for, if this is my vibe for that day, I usually don't want it in some big crazy dynamic formula or result. I usually want it to be quiet, in which case this is perfect. If I wanted a really impactful look, then I would just grab neutrals from probably Inslee Rain. But when it comes to neutral looks, when I'm feeling just boring, if I'm feeling true neutrals, it's probably that I'm feeling a little bit more subdued that day, and this is a good option. I don't know if I mentioned, all of these palettes, if they're available, will be linked below in my description box. Let's talk about Sigma. In the past, I've had two Sigma palettes. I had their Untamed and I had Alice in Wonderland, and I liked them. They were just fine. I wasn't very excited about them. Then I kind of treated myself to this palette when I found it for a good price, because I thought the color story was great, and the packaging, unlike Alice, did not give me a headache. This is the Little Mermaid palette when they obviously collaborated with that Disney movie, and this is great. Now, this is nothing like the other Sigma palettes I remember. This is beautiful. Not only is it possibly their most colorful palette, it also has formulas that I don't remember from anything else I'd tried from them and haven't seen in swatches, or what I can tell, I haven't seen it anywhere else from them, particularly this shade. This is very indie. This is a very indie kind of shimmer. It is thick, it is creamy, it is emollient, it is shifting. It's like a brownish, burnt, orangey red kind of color. Really pretty. This is duochromatic. It's not as impactful. It's not the same texture as this one. This is a beautiful color story. It's beautiful, and you can get neutrals, you can get cool tones, you can get purples, blues, more browns. You've got this shade here, which is a topper. I can go more safe or a little bit more subdued if I want to, or I can go way colorful. It has depth. Can I get an amen? So yeah, this palette really surprised me. They did something different with this one, and I recommend it quite enthusiastically. Okay, let's talk about a Pat McGrath palette given to me by a kind subscriber. I kept telling her to try to sell it, but she wasn't interested in putting, I guess, you know, it does take some effort with photographing and listing and the details and the descriptions and then watching the selling page to see if it goes. It's a little annoying, I admit, but since I buy almost everything secondhand, I need to sell palettes in order to get new ones because I don't take money out of our personal bank account at this point. So yeah, if I want to buy anything new, I have to sell some stuff. Anyway, this is the Pat McGrath Moonlit Seduction palette. It is their 10th, well, her 10th Mothership palette, and it looks like this. It's quite lovely. Oh, I've got a lot of sparkle going on over there. This shade is really pretty. It's one of those like brown purpley kinds of shades. Really lovely. I was blown away by the quality of this matte formula specifically. I thought the shimmers were nice. This one was a little bit boring. This one makes a nice inner corner highlight. Overall, the finished effect is very refined, which is what I would expect from a luxury brand and a brand at this price point, and also a brand with the reputation of Pat McGrath. The final looks that I've gotten from this palette have been very, very pretty, really high quality. A couple of you guys really know about Pat McGrath, and you can tell me all about the formulation and the way that, you know, shades were meant to build, or shades were meant, you know, you can use them as highlighters, you can use them as blushes as well. It's not only eyeshadow, it's more of a face palette. And I learned a little bit more about the special shades, the Astral Blitz, like the different formulations that she's offered in her previous 9 Mothership palettes, and it's just been really interesting. I mean, some of my viewers, I'm thinking about Melina specifically, just a wealth of information when it comes to Pat McGrath. So I really appreciate you guys informing and educating me, because I don't know these things. I didn't know that. And so even though I was experiencing the formula, the brand, for the first time, it was still really interesting to hear, just to help round out my knowledge. I feel like I'm taking too long on each of these palettes. I just like talking about eyeshadow palettes. Let's talk about Give Me Glow. This was given to me as well by a subscriber. This is the Christmas Morning palette. I have decided to pass this one along because it's a color story that doesn't really excite me, but it is really good. I've gotten some pretty looks out of this one, again with the very nice matte formula. I mean, at this point, I'm having trouble finding a brand that doesn't do a good job with their formulas. I mean, that One Revolution palette was $12. I think it was $12 at Target, and the Lamora brand, that was $9 or $10 on Amazon. So no, I'm not trying all of the price points and all of the brands there, but you can get some pretty good quality even at a very affordable price point. Anyway, this is Give Me Glow Christmas Morning. It's nice. I've gotten good looks from it. I think the color story is lacking a little bit. As far as I'm concerned, I can see a really good neutral look here, but I would struggle to make a good green look. I think I could do an easy red look because I have 2 like light and mid. But as far as green, you've got like your 2 dark shades here, and there's no lighter tone green. I'm not sure. You could do something more greeny with this green brown shimmer and these more neutral shades here. So there are possibilities. It's just not super exciting to me. So I like it, but at this point, I genuinely just want to keep stuff that's really delighting me because I have so many options. I'd like to use my favorites. Okay, I did mention before a dupe brand. I have a palette, just one, from Alter Ego. This is duping out the Natasha Denona Yucca. This is the Wildwood palette. I love the packaging. It's so beautiful. It's soft touch, it's quality, it's a full-size mirror, it's magnetic, so it's got some weight to it, and I love this image. It's gorgeous, perfectly representing the colors on the inside. And this is a different layout than the Natasha palette, but the colors are all the same, and when I see people directly comparing them, they say that it's quite a good dupe. I recently compared this palette to the Cosmic Brushes Undergrowth palette. I can card that video here if you are interested in seeing like swatches next to each other. Spoiler alert, pretty much every shade in here is in Undergrowth. So if you have that one, you definitely don't need this. Undergrowth has more, of course. I bought this for $5. long before I bought Undergrowth, and I've decided to keep it because even though I already have all these shades over there in a palette, which I think is great, I do love everything about this. I like the color story, obviously, because I bought it elsewhere, but also this is magnetic and I can use it for my BYOP. The formula is nice. It does try to mimic the Natasha Cream to Powder in 2 of the shadows, I think. It's fine. I don't have big thoughts on that. I know some people love it. I know some people hate it. I think it's fine. It just behaves like an eyeshadow. Whatever. I have one palette from Lethal Cosmetics. This is the Wildflower. I almost said Wildwood because that was Wildwood, but this is the Wildflower. And this is a very nice palette. Beautiful color story. I actually need to use it again. It's been a little while. Kind of want to dive into that sucker right there. This is the most elusive shade in my whole collection. I know I've said this before because I can never, ever, ever get it to look like that. It always looks like blue. It never looks like this green shade. I don't know, they're tricking me. They're messing with me. It's fun. It's a beautiful palette. This one gives me the most striking inner corner pop. Like if I take literally any of these shimmers and put it in my inner corner and into the lower lash line, it makes my eyes pop like there's no tomorrow. It's so striking. There's something about these undertones that just really stand out on my skin. I don't love this formulation. I believe I heard that Lethal was formulating in Germany until their Avatar collection. And I will say that when I saw their Avatar collection, I thought, wow, that doesn't look like the same formula as what I have in Wildflower. I believe now, as of Avatar and beyond, they're formulating in China. That's what I heard. I did not hear it from Lethal. These shimmers are more dry, more crumbly. This is the sort of thing that will break in transit. And I know that they had some problems with that, so maybe that's one of the reasons they switched. I'm sure there are several reasons, but it's a pretty color story. I like that it has lightness and depth, and it has some really beautiful and also shifting shimmers. It's Belle Cosmetics is now out of business, but before they went, they did a collaboration with my buddy here on YouTube, Bree C from Bree C Beauty and Lifestyle as well. Together they did the Tropical Nights palette, and Bree was kind enough to have it sent to me in PR. And I think this color story is really nice. I was impressed with the quality. I hadn't ever tried It's Belle before. The color story is beautiful. I mean, we have lightness, we have a white, and we have depth with a black. There are several mid-tone shades and there are several lighter shades, almost not really pastel, but definitely lighter. And one of the times I used this, I was thinking, oh man, I wish that there were an orange matte. And then I remembered kindergarten color theory, and I made a beautiful orange matte with the yellow and red combined. So it actually gives you a little bit more colors than what meets the eye. I think Brie did a great job with this palette. On the whole, the It's Belle formula, especially in the shimmers, is the more emollient, creamy thick that you get from a lot of indie brands now. And it was delightful to get this in the mail. I felt so honored that she added me to the PR list for that launch. I have one palette from Juvia's Place. In the past I forget which ones, but I had 2 or 3 from Juvia's Place, and I pretty quickly decluttered them because I was like, they did nothing for me. But then somebody gave me the Garden of Juvia's, and I swear that they've reformulated since those into this one. And the Candy Shop looks to be the same formulation. The Culture palettes, they look the same. This is lovely. These shimmers actually remind me a lot of Simply Posh's shimmers. They're lightweight, they're sparkly, they're a little bit shifty. They're not super like Fallout kind of glittery, but they're not super creamy either. They're kind of in the middle. I'm gonna say they're not as sparkly or creamy as Unearthly, which is my favorite shimmer, well, formula in general, shimmer and matte. They do remind me a lot of Simply Posh. So if you like Simply Posh, you'd probably like this stuff that Juvia's Place has been releasing. It's a really fun, perfect spring kind of palette. Talk about the pastel palette in my collection, and the only thing that I have from Blend Bunny, Sickly Sweet. I used to have their Lure palette, and I passed that one along because even though the quality is excellent, I don't love the gradient. I prefer a more jumbled layout. This is the Sickly Sweet. It was a Halloween launch. You can see there's a skull in the cotton candy. Really creative and very unexpected for Halloween. And as far as I understand, the owner's vision behind this palette was it was kind of like a grab bag of candy, where all the colors are mixed up and jumbled and it's a little bit of a mess, and you just like plunge your hand in and come out with a handful of goodies. That's kind of the idea between her layout for this. It was, I think, the first time that is that right? Was it the first time that they jumbled up their colors? I think it was. And I was like, oh, here we go. Because the Blend Bunny formula is really, really nice, especially in the mattes. They're gorgeous. And these are very nice pastels. Pastels with a white base are very often quite patchy or quite ashy or just dusty. They disappear. These are pigmented. These are opaque. They're powerful. One of the tricks with pastels is to not really try to blend, because then you will start getting patchiness. You just want to tap and lay in place. These are so easy to work with. But one thing I particularly like about this palette over most other pastel palettes is that we also have depth. And it gives me the contrast that I want, because I love pastel and then a dark outer corner or something. It gives me the contrast and the fun and the color. I love to bring this palette into another when I want the pastels that it's lacking. But if I just stay in here, I absolutely have enough contrast and range to make a complete look. And finally, we'll talk about the BH Cosmetics Naughty palette. This is an oldie but goodie. It's been around for some years and it is really good quality. I keep thinking I might be ready to pass this one along, but then I look at it again and I think, but the formula, such a good formula. But you know what? That's the case with other things I've passed along. And it often comes down to the color story. Like, does it excite me? Does it bring something different to my collection? This doesn't bring anything different to my collection. I mean, there are a few shades that stand out. Maybe that one's pretty unique to what I own elsewhere. This one here is actually like an eraser on my skin. So if I make a mistake, I can dip into this and basically get rid of it. The shimmers in here are beautiful. They're very creamy. They're a lot like that one from Revolution. I'm telling you, they might be using the BH formula. This is pretty unique, I think, and it's a lovely shade, and my eye is always drawn to that shade. There are two glitters in here, which I don't use, but I think that they would be pretty if I could ever figure out how to do the eyeshadow nail polish thing. Those would be really pretty, especially for Christmas time. Anyway, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this palette, but it is a testament to the quality of BH Cosmetics. It's still chugging along beautifully, performing like a dream. It's lovely, lovely color story. I might be ready to pass it on because it's not unique or exciting to what I own now, but I cannot disparage the quality. It has been really good from the get-go and still is. So there you go. Those are all the single palettes, the one-offs that represent a brand. And I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback. Let me know if you have any of these palettes or if you have one-offs within your own collection. Like, oh, I've got a lethal palette. It's different from yours, but it's just one lethal palette in my collection. I'd love to hear what you guys have, what you're enjoying, what you're playing with these days. I do have various themes or playlists on my channel. I think the one that this video might fall into would be like collection tours. So I might throw that in the description box as well if you're curious to see other videos like this where I just talk about eyeshadow. Like, this is fun. It's a good time. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. Perhaps you'll consider liking and subscribing before you go if you want to see more content like this. I apologize if this seems a little bit jumpy. I had so many interruptions just in this video. So many interruptions, and I'm just like, let me finish, focus, just get home. So anyway, I'm gonna go do some chores and, finish out my day. I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you for being here, for giving me a piece of your day. I hope you enjoy the rest of it. See you next time. Bye.